Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Dan Rosensweig is here with us, CEO of Chegg. He's got his brand new show, Going From Broke. How are you?
I'm good. It's my brand new show, but that's not a picture
That
of
is
me.
definitely not you. That's Ashton Kutcher right there, but he's certainly been a good friend of yours for a while.
I've been very fortunate.
What's it been like getting to know this guy?
Well, it's just like what you'd see. He's born and raised in Iowa, so he's got Midwestern beliefs and Midwestern values, and he's a workaholic. He's an incredible husband and father, and he's incredibly smart and interested in tech, but more interestingly, what brought us to the show was there are causes that he just gets obsessed with. So a lot of people know that he spends a lot of time on human trafficking and has actually built some of the most amazing software that the FBI works with. But as he and I started to talk as early as 10 years ago about student debt and how it creates a permanent debtor class in the United States and how we're sacrificing our future, taking money out of these young people's pockets like yourself, that one day he just approached me and he said, I've got this idea for a show on student debt because, Dan, I know Chegg is obsessed with it, I know you're obsessed with it, and would you be interested in doing it? And I said, if it's coming out of your brain, then yeah. So that's how we got started.
That's awesome. So you've obviously spent a ton of time thinking about student debt. What surprises you the most about people who are my age, just in tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt?
What surprises me the most is that the country doesn't seem to be taking it seriously.
Yeah.
So there are 44 million Americans. There's only 320 million Americans in total. 44 million of them have college debt right now.
That's crazy.
40% of them are behind on their payments. It's the only debt in this country you cannot declare bankruptcy on. So you're going to have it forever. And so the fact that the government loans most of it, they have loaned an incredible amount for people without really educating them on the consequences of it. Young people come out of, they work their tail off, they do everything right, they do exactly what you're told, and then all of a sudden you go out in the workforce and you realize, well, wait a minute, I'm earning an income and I'm getting taxed. Oh, and I got to pay my college debt, and I pay my college debt after I get taxed. And if I don't pay it, the government can garnish my wages. I think what really has shocked me was the problem is so severe that there's not enough discussion about it. And on the good news side, I know that young people, when they're given an opportunity and they're given information to help them improve their lives, they just get a little bit of confidence that they'll take those steps. I mean, you and I were talking about it before we went on the air. You have college debt, but you're saving money, you're paying it back, you're working your tail off, but you have friends that aren't.
Absolutely.
And so I think we've got a situation where the numbers are so big that they're almost unbelievable that people say, well, I'll worry about it later. But you can't. And it's devastating. Mental health, financial health, you can't get a rental, you can't buy a car, you can't get into a house. All these things affect your credit score. And so that's really the premise of the show, is acknowledging that you've already been screwed. Now how can we help you not be screwed? And the chance to work with Chicken Soup for the Soul, and then Crackle, the idea of putting on Crackle, which is the largest free streaming network. So how bad would it be if we asked people to pay to watch a show about debt? So the fact that Crackle has really gotten behind it in a major way is pretty extraordinary. A lot of people may not have heard of Crackle, yet it's the largest free streaming service. Well, in about 2 weeks, we've had over 3.6 million streams of the show.
That's awesome.
And that just tells you how popular the topic is and how powerful, hopefully, the message is.
Yeah, people need to learn, they want to watch, and education and conversation are a big part of this, because like you have some people in the show, like you shouldn't be able to get $80,000 loan at age 18. But the thing is, like, when you're going into college, you're not thinking about how much in loans I'm going to have. A lot of families aren't having those conversations.
Well, what does it even mean to
how do we
you?
change that?
Somebody says you go to college. In this case, it's Steve, and he went to the University of Wisconsin, one of the greatest schools in the country.
Totally.
Hey, you take out $80,000, that's what it costs. All those other people did it. Must be easy to pay it back. Well, it's not. And by the way, when you take out $80,000 in loans, you don't pay back $80,000. You're paying back $140,000, and you're going to be paying it into your 50s. And so it's really unfortunate that people don't get the full story and they don't understand the return on investment of their education. And Stephen was just a great example of that. Here's a guy, super smart, University of Wisconsin, living in his car.
Yeah, insane.
Right? That's a real story.
Absolutely.
And to me, the most devastating part, not as a CEO, but as a father, was when I met his father, and his father had taken out an insurance policy because if Stephen didn't pay it back, or God forbid something even worse happened, because Stephen was sort of filming himself doing extreme lifestyles, extreme sports, he took out a Parent Plus loan. And a Parent Plus loan means that if you don't pay it back, the person who co-signed and gave up their collateral, which in this case was his father, and overwhelmingly the collateral is your house, his father was going to lose his home.
Wow.
And so it had strained their relationship. I mean, these are devastating stories, but the good news, and hopefully what the show does in an entertaining but valuable way, is give you real, positive, constructive steps that anybody can take to improve their situation.
So I was telling you off camera, I've had friends, family members that have consolidated their loans. They just think, well, I'm going to be making X when I'm 30 or 40. And some people, like, I'm in media, you never know what's going to happen. People in the financial world, they know what the blueprint's going to be. So why is that not a smart decision to consolidate and focus on your loans later?
Well, first of all, the thing about problems, they don't go away if you don't do something.
No, you got to address them. Yeah.
2, whether you think it's fair or not, you own the problem. So you have no choice but to address it and to fix it. 3, they consolidate them onto credit cards that they can get only with really bad credit scores.
Right.
Excuse me. And therefore their interest rates are 19, 20, or 21%. So you're borrowing money at 21% to pay back a loan you have at 4.5 or 5%. It's just bad fiscal decision. But if you go the other way and you say, look, I'm going to pay off my debt $100 extra a month over the minimum, you can save $10,000 or $11,000 and 10 years worth of payments. So small steps, when you understand it, can make massive impacts, positive impact on your life.
I know you guys address credit cards as well, and especially people in my life, they like to play the whole game where it's like,
credit
we're going to get reward.
roulette?
Yeah, we're going to, well, that's one game for sure. When you're out to dinner, it's like, all right, let's throw them all in there. But getting like the points and rewards from credit cards too. Like I have a friend who has like 8, 9, 10 different credit cards. He's got his budget, he pays it off, but like people in the show, like credit cards are a huge issue for them. So how do we address that, and what are some of the solutions that they can work on?
Well, one of the great examples that you're referring to is Max and Megan, who didn't realize that combined they had 14. On the show it says 12 credit cards, and the husband was shocked when he realized that Megan had this many credit cards out, and what she was doing was to pay off one, taking out another one. Each credit card she took, the next one had the worst interest rates. They're almost like payday loans. So, you know, what we really do is teach a practical way to understand what a credit card is, what your interest rates are, why paying the minimum is not in your best interest. There's a reason credit cards give you all those points. There's a reason that they tell you to pay the minimum.
Right.
It's because the longer it takes you to pay, the more you owe them. It's an annuity to the people that you're paying. It's devastating to you. So we try to help people understand budgets and keeping a diary and living within your means, and understanding the benefit of, instead of spending money on sneakers or things that you don't need, spend it on the things that are causing you to be in debt and will ruin the rest of your life. So we give real visual effects in the show, but we really help people understand and exactly what to do. And you can go to goingfrombroke.info and actually get even more practical information. And Chegg is going to be putting out even more video content on these things, because the feedback has been incredible. Chegg did a survey. 26% of all recent graduates said the one thing they wish they had learned in school was personal finance.
Yeah, going back to like high school, imagine how many lives that would change. Just like being able to balance a checkbook. Like that's not something people know how to do until much later in their life.
If you're anything like my daughters, you don't even know what a checkbook is.
There you go.
Right?
You have
everything is on Venmo, it's on PayPal, it's on all the other payment systems.
You're using a parent's credit card.
Pay.
Yeah.
I mean, most young people have never gotten a passbook or know what one is in a savings account, or never had a checkbook or had to balance it. Literally, you don't even know. You walk in and your phone charges it for you. You don't get a statement at the end of the month, right? You don't understand when you're ahead or behind. Nobody cuts you off. The banks actually want you to overdraw because they make billions of dollars on overdraft payments. We want to help people understand none of these people are your friends. They don't have to be your enemies.
Right.
But they're not your friends. They're in business to make money on your mistakes. They don't make money if you spend less and pay it off on time. So, but we want to help you do that.
So what's the best story you guys have from the series of somebody turning around their life?
Well, there are 10 vignettes in this particular first version of the story, and all of them, look, we have extremes on both sides. We have somebody who was not prepared to acknowledge that this was the reality of what was happening to them. They were behaving in a reckless way, and the story was not going to end well. I mean, not every story ends well, and it's reality TV, and you got to deal with the reality. The flip side is a lot of people, if you take somebody like Obi, who started his own company, was making $80,000 a year, but falling $10,000 behind in debt each year when he's 23 years old making 80 grand, that's a great turnaround story. When you look at somebody like Max and Megan, who ran the risk of losing their home, right? Now they're both gainfully employed. They're in the green for the first time in their life, something they never did before, and they realized that not only could do it, but their confidence went up. The happiness in their marriage went up. So all along, you see people like Brandon, who, you know, had a car that didn't even work. They wanted to confiscate it from him, but he was hiding it and paying bills on a car that didn't even work, and it put him into a mental health situation. And now he's in a situation where, for the first time in his life, he feels in control of his situation. So these are small, practical steps that can change your life, change your attitude, change the positive energy for you. And most importantly, we think it's terrible that 44 million Americans are creating a debtor class. We want to help people get out of it. We did the show for that reason and that reason only, and we helped finance the show because we thought the value to young people was just absolutely necessary, and people weren't doing it.
Why do you think we don't take the crisis seriously enough?
Well, sometimes I think the numbers are just too big to believe that they could be real. Like, who at 18 years old knows what $80,000 really is?
Right, it's not tangible at that point.
And who really knows that that's going to be $140,000? And who doesn't think that the choice they made to go to college is going to yield a job that's going to pay them more than they paid for college? That's why you go. 88% of all Americans go for the sole purpose of getting a better job. You don't realize that the return on your education is nowhere near what people claim it to be in many situations. So I think people don't take it serious for those reasons. And then there's never really been a consequence. You go to college for as many years as you go, and you don't have to pay it back until you get out. So you got used to not paying it. You got used to the habits of going to Starbucks or paying for breakfast or living a little bit larger than you should or getting a nicer car. And then all of a sudden you have a job and you have responsibilities and people want their money back. So I think it's a jolt in their life. So I do think that there's a bigger situation that Chegg is working on, which is how to eliminate student debt. We have a whole proposal. Chegg actually pays off the student debt of all of our employees.
Oh, that's great.
Because we think we're the beneficiary of the work that they've put in. But there's a lot more to do on that end. But what the show deals with is, if you're already in this situation, how can we get you out? And, you know, with Crackle's sort of huge effort and promotion to put behind it, 3.6 million people in a little more than 10 days or streams shows you, and they're watching more than one episode, which means that they're learning from each one. And again, hopefully it's entertaining. I mean, you know, Ashton's a very smart, passionate, compassionate guy, but he also knows how to do incredible storytelling. So the benefit of having him sort of think of the show and help create it has made, I think, all the difference in why the reviews have been good.
I think smart and compassionate is the perfect way to put it, because you have to be empathetic to say, like, yeah, this situation sucks, but at the same time, you got to do something about it. You got to deal with it. You can't just avoid it.
If you're waiting for the government to fix it, you're going to be waiting a long time. And whether or not you support candidates that believe in eliminating the cost or student debt, whether you believe it's right or wrong isn't even our point. The point is that's not likely to happen anytime soon. But your life is happening right now. And so these are people who are making decisions every day, and they're creating stress and anxiety and mental health and lack of confidence, and people are delaying not only buying homes or cars, but they're delaying getting married or having families if they want them. But we can help you with that. The show Going From Broke is designed to do that, and I've just been incredibly grateful and surprised by just how many people have watched it already. I mean, I don't know what is good or bad on local CBS, but 3.6 million views in 10
that's a win.
Days,
Certainly
tells you that there's a real interest in the show.
No doubt. Dan, really nice to meet you.
TJ, thanks so much, my friend. I really appreciate
Check him
the
out.
opportunity.
Going From Broke on Crackle. For Dan, I'm DJ. See you next time.
Don't confuse us. That's Ashton. I'm Dan.
See you later, everybody.